Why is the season you're about to watch called Season 2 and not Season 1? Here is why. See this? 2019, this used to be Season 1. 2020 used to be called Season 2. And then I thought, well, I guess I'll just have to start at Season 3 for YouTube. And I thought, no, I'll call it Modern Season 1. And this will be early Season 2 and early Season 1. And then I thought, well, that didn't seem right, because for Modern Season 1, I would be awarding a second giant nut. So then I decided to call 2019 just 2019. 2020, all of it would be Season 1. That's what I thought would be the last change I made. I decided, no, only the tournament episodes would be called Season 1. So all the fights that took place, those were just called 2020, the 2020 recording. Only the tournament episodes were explosive hits, Season 1. Basically, the reason this is Season 2 is because we're awarding a second giant nut this year. Alright, now it is tier list making time. I'll be doing the same alphabetical order that I've been doing for, well, at least for the first video. So we start with Beta. Beta has been... It's been pretty powerful. It has a good wedge, which is good against horizontals, but generally it can't face top tier bots and usually loses eventually at some point. So for now, I'll put it at B. Now we have Bite Force. Gee, I wonder where this could be. Bite Force, just like the Oil Bot, has always been dominant as a Hexbug. It's the reigning champion and very easy to control. It has the most pieces out of any bot, which also leads to its success. So, definitely gets an S. And then we have Black Devil. Black Devil actually got some upgrades for Season 2, but it's still pretty bad. The weapon's really weak, the wedges aren't really low, and the reach isn't so good either. So Black Devil, you get a D. What have I done? And then Blacksmith. Blacksmith, well, considering when they both have new batteries, which they will for the tournament, Bite Force wins, but with low batteries, Blacksmith can actually beat Bite Force as long as it survives. So I'm going to give it an S. It can also stand up to stronger bots like Bronco. It actually can beat Bronco in some cases. And then Poltergeist. Weak weapon, decent wedge, but still the weapon is basically nothing. And pretty much like Beta, but with no weapon. So basically just a wedge. D. And now Bronco. Bronco has been very dominant this year, or at least preceding this year. I feel like it's going to do very good this year. It's new. It's only like a month old. Drives really well. Flips powerful. It gets an S. And then there was Duck. Duck, I've been improving my driving skills with Duck as well. I'm doing good at getting the lifter right where I want it. I'm actually getting good at the turning, getting used to it, controlling under bots. In fact, it's actually been upgraded for Season 2. It's got that lifter upgrade. Not sure if I showed that. It's the How to Hack a Hexbug Duck. Duck's easy to control, good to maneuver, can do some good attacks on its opponents. Not quite sure if I should give it an S. I think I'll give it an S. Yeah. Oh, no, it's not an S. There's no way this is getting an S. High A maybe, but not S. And then Gamma 9. Gamma 9, well, it's like Blanco, but it has mobility issues. Its pieces are really hard to get off. That's one thing you should note about this bot. So you'll attack it for a long time. The pieces might not even come off. And the flipper is just as powerful as Bronco, but it's hard to maneuver. It doesn't have as low ground as Bronco, so giving it a B. Hammerhead. Hammerhead actually used to be good. It used to be like an A back in 2019. But now sometimes the hammer jams. There are other bots that can beat it. So it's no longer its A status. Plus it uses the hammer a lot less. That's just how my driving style adapted. Huge is a weird one. I mean, huge, it could be C or D because it's very hard to do damage with huge. You have to go forward, back out just in time, and even then it's hard to get the right angles. The only reason I'm not putting it lower is those pieces are very hard to rip off. Like sometimes I'll just accidentally put on too much tape and it'll just not come off during a fight. Now Hurricane. Hurricane actually seems like a very powerful opponent. That's what leads to its downfall. It self-destructs itself, sometimes even on the first hit. You'll get like 5-second long fights for this spot. Like, I put tape on the pieces last year, just so, I mean, not so that they wouldn't come off, but so that they wouldn't come off as easily. They still came off just from hitting around. So, this bot, it can do some damage to other bots, but generally it damages itself first, so give it an F. Can't really see it's winning this. Sorry, Hurricane. You just destroy yourself too much. And then Hypershock. Hypershock is the worst bot. It's a custom bot, so the pieces come off easily. The weapon is basically nothing. Can't do anything, so also an F. And then Minotaur, another bot who used to be really powerful, but now it isn't. The motor has gotten weaker over the years, like all Hexbug bots, and the new one, there's something wrong with it where the motor just won't spin at all. So Minotaur's gonna have to stick to its old state. It's actually pretty maneuverable. It's not like that super hard to control when you get a new one, so it's maneuverable, but the weapon's kind of weak, so it's a B. And then Monstrosity. You can probably predict this one. Monstrosity's got this giant powerful weapon, which I'm sure you all know. It really destroys its opponents. It can sometimes destroy itself, though. The vibrations can knock off its own pieces. The pieces can sometimes pop off just from a hard impact. Still giving it an S, but putting it below Bronco and also probably below Bite Force. I'd put it above Blacksmith, though. And then Railgun Max. The drum spin was actually really powerful, probably comparable to Minotaur, but being a custom bot, it's pretty weak as well. The side pieces pop off easily, but it gets B. Well, here's Ring of Fire. Normally, Ring of Fire is pretty good, but well, I don't want to spoil anything. Potential spoiler. It got some tough opponents this year. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, and also the weapon's kind of weak. It falls off easily. Sometimes it destroys itself, but usually that's only with a tank drive. So, giving Ring of Fire a C. And then Rotator. Rotator is usually good. The blades have been more powerful since it's relatively new. Pieces aren't really easy. Pieces are average. They require the average amount of effort to get off. So I'll give it B. B is just average for bots. It can win most of its fights, but usually won't get like a high title. And then we come to Super Scoop, which I said was better than Bronco. Not now, but the old Bronco, which is hard to maneuver. Super Scoop is a lot more easy to maneuver than Bronco. Got a very wide scoop in the front. So that's another advantage. I'm giving it an A. Not quite up there with all the other bots. It can sometimes knock its own pieces off, but it's pretty powerful. It can go foul. And then Sword Tossalot. Sword Tossalot is actually competing, well, I don't want to say competing, but yeah, competing for the worst bot spot along with Hypershock. the weapon is not very reliable. It's weak. Flippo doesn't do much. It can kind of control you with the forks, but just doesn't really have a weapon. Can't really push you very much either. So Short Toss a lot gets an F. And then Tangerine. Tangerine is going to be like the underestimated bot this year because with my driving, the wedge is very good. It can control its opponents insanely well. The only problem I could see with it is ripping off one of its own pieces. In fact, that's kind of a big problem. Plus, it doesn't really have an active weapon to do damage. It's proven to be good so far against horizontal spinners, and I don't even think we've seen it lose a fight yet on the channel. So for now, I'll give it an A. It can probably go foul, but it's going to get eliminated by one of the higher tier bots sooner or later. Terabyte. Terabyte, well, okay, not many people know this because I haven't really shown Terabyte much, but the weapon, when it's up to full speed, is really powerful. More powerful than a lot of the horizontal spinners here. Not quite as powerful as Hurricane, but probably second place. But downsides are, because this metal dome is covering the signal receptor, it's very hard to control. Sometimes lags out, crashes into the wall. Sometimes it's hard to tell which direction it's going with the paper. We got a new paper thing, so the pieces don't get stuck on. That thing can get tangled in it too and stop the weapon. So it's got a powerful weapon, but it's got some reliability issues as well. And now the claw. The claw is basically Tangerine with a claw on top, so that makes it very good at controlling opponents. Actually, insanely good. You can just rush on you with the tank drive. The tank drive is the only thing it fits with. Just go towards you, get the claw, control you around the arena, push you into the hazards. Not really sure if it's good at getting pieces off, but somehow it beat Tombstone 2 in the 2020 recording. It can kind of flip your pieces off with the claw, and it's Tangerine with a weapon, so it gets A. Well, the claw is better than Minotaur. That's kind of shocking. And then Tombstone. Tombstone is like, it's powerful on battle in the real show battle bots, but not in Hexbug. Compared to this, it's like the weaker Tombstone, one of the weak horizontal spinners. But still, it's got a powerful weapon, somewhat defensive. You can kind of easily get to the back, but it's pretty good. Not really sure where to put it. Actually, yeah, I could see it losing to all these bots, so I'll give it a B. That might change this year, but it gets a B. Tombstone 2. Monstrosity is not my favorite bot anymore. This is my favorite bot. The metal spinner is really powerful. Not as powerful as Terabyte though, but it's really powerful. It can do a lot of damage to bots. Takes a while to spin up, but still. The top piece is stuck on a little bit, so it's harder to get that off too. Like if this hits a wedge and pops up, the top piece won't come off too. And it's definitely a contender. Of course, I need to remember not to do that. I need to copy it. And then get rid of it. Upgraded Tombstone. Fun fact, all of its wins in Explosive Hits Season 1 last year were upsets. So it was not expected to win any of its fights, but it ended up doing just that. The blade, it used to be considered weak, but it can actually, for some reason, do a lot of damage. Just rip your pieces off just by touching them. It's really got a lot of potential, but then again, it is a Tombstone. Not really sure whether to put it at A or B. Let's compare. Well, it could probably lose to, it could probably beat a lot of other bots here. Probably not Gamma 9 though. It gets B. Probably the highest spot, not counting Gamma 9. I really don't know what to say for upgraded Warhead. I mean, its weapon used to be really powerful. Now it's not. Now it's not as powerful. Can't really deliver the big hits it used to. But then again, it doesn't lose the coins as much, and it's a lot more stable. It turns really well for some reason, but the blade does make it harder to control. Haven't really seen an issue with it knocking off its own pieces due to power. So I'll give it B. B is the average ranking. And what did I just say? I can't backspace. Can't get rid of the image before I paste it. It's a weird feature. And Warhead. Warhead got this new disc upgrade that makes a disc spin really fast, spin up really fast in like under a second as of last year. We can also put on a heavier disc to make it even more powerful. And it goes far to say Warhead's better than Tombstone. It also doesn't knock off its own pieces. It's easy to control. It's got a giant weapon. Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor was bad last year because it had mobility issues. It was really old. The plastic was cracking and the wheels were hardly touching the ground. So he added a wedge, which would be good against horizontals, but it didn't face any horizontals, so it didn't do good. Didn't really land many attacks either. It won one of its fights by the other bot's pieces just falling off from driving. But now it's new. The weapon is even more powerful, drives really fast, it's a lot more maneuverable. Probably give it an A. And Witch Doctor 2 is the same thing but better. It's also new. Drives probably faster. The weapon, not really sure if the weapon is more powerful. It might be. And the only reason I'm going to put it ahead of Witch Doctor 2 is the top piece. The top piece is very hard to get off. Not a lot of bots can get it off. Actually, there's probably a lot of other reasons, like weapon power. Might be more powerful. Okay, now we're down to the last one, which is Witch Doctor 3. It's actually a pretty defensive bot, but it's not offensive at all. The weapon can't really do much. A lot of times it can't even reach because of the wedge. And the back wedge falls off a lot because it's cut part of the back piece, and the web cage is actually more exposed with the side armor. But it's kind of defensive in the back when it loses the wedge because the back is just so low to the ground. But still, not very good. So I'm giving it a D. And that is the complete tier list of all the Hexbug bots. I'm going to pause or rearrange them. So the best ones will go here and then unpause. So this is a pause for now. So this is the updated tier list. Bots here are expected to do better than bots on this side. So basically, the top left is the best, and the bottom right is the worst. Bronco being the best at the time, and Hypershock being the worst at the time. Thanks for watching this.